welcome to another episode of 5 Questions with Trevor. I am excited to have on with us tonight a friend of mine, Lee Woods. Lee is a father, an entrepreneur, a family man, a religious man, and one who's always seeking out to better himself. And so I'm really excited to have a conversation with Lee, and he's got a lot of words of wisdom to part with us and to share with his journey of how he's gotten to this point in his life. So we'll dive into that, really soon. Of course, Lee, I'm going to give you a chance to introduce yourself and give a little bit more of a background on who you are. But as always, we are going to start off with our 5 questions that we have lined up here for our guests. So, Lee, we're going to dive into this real quick, and then we'll segue into our free form section, and we'll give you a chance to talk more about who you are and what you do. But yeah, like I said, family man, entrepreneur. He's been involved in crypto. He's a top-notch salesperson. He's probably knocked on your door and he sold you something if you're here somewhere in the United States. This man's done it all. But with that intro, Lee, we've got a bunch of questions here for you that we'll just kind of talk and bring on this conversation and see where it takes us. My number one question I always start off with, though, is, it'll go to silly, but we'll get to serious as well. If you had the choice, Lee, would you rather walk barefoot on hot coals or barefoot down the streets of San Francisco?
Barefoot on hot coals.
Okay. Why?
Because I've done it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tony Robbins Unleash the Power Within. And that's part of the process. After the first day, you walk on hot coals.
Really?
And if I walked on hot coals successfully without being burnt, I know I can do it.
Oh my goodness. So you would rather go through the hot coals again versus handle what some might say San Francisco streets might not be the cleanest right now, based upon things we've been hearing. So hot cold, wow, that's an experience. So did you actually go to a Tony Robbins seminar and do that, or was that just on your own?
And actually in San Jose, California, I went.
Okay.
So I went to the Unleash the Power Within. Yeah. And then I can't remember in Florida, but I went to one of his business mastery courses as well.
Okay, awesome. Next question then. What is something that you love that you would be willing to give up for financial security, like $1 billion?
Oh, for financial security?
No more of that worry. That is done, but something that you love and you can't do that again. I mean, and obviously we're not talking about relationships and family and stuff. I think that stuff is sacred. It will never be really right. But like, what do you love? Whether it's watching some sport or doing something outside or whatever, saying, dude, I'm free financially. So
I mean, I love sports. That's been a big part of my life, but I could walk away. I've walked away from everything, to be honest with you. So it'd be really easy to walk away from sports, to be able to be financially free. And when I say walk away from sports, I don't mean playing them. I mean watching them.
Nothing, gone. No fantasy football, no NBC on Sundays or whatever it is. No more.
No problem.
Yeah.
Even though I do love, like, my family and my friends will tell you I love sports. Yeah. But I would give it up in a heartbeat.
Didn't you play in college or at some higher level?
At UVSC. Then I just played high school basketball, baseball, and then I played some football growing up, all that,
Gotcha. Okay. So you would never pick up another football or baseball or watch it on TV.
Wait a minute. I didn't say I wouldn't pick up one. I said I wouldn't watch it.
Oh, okay. I'm saying give up sports. Like you can go hiking if you want to.
Honestly, does that include hiking and all the other stuff?
No, as a recreational activity, you're fine. But I'm talking like, your typical basketball, football, baseball. Those around you are gone. You cannot look at another football ever again for the rest of your life. You can't play with your kids. That is out of the picture.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, that'd be rough, but I'd do it.
Yeah. You find something else, right?
I would just turn to the recreation or not recreation, but alternative sports, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I did
so we for sure missed, but like you said, you'd find something else. Yeah. The greatest threat to freedom today, what is it, in your opinion?
Us. We are our own worst enemy. We limit ourselves and put ourselves in boxes, and then we extend that outside of ourselves.
So what do you think drives that? Is it fear? Is it
definitely fear is the root? Fear is the root. It's packaged and delivered in a sweet manner as safety. It's what we look at it as. We're just trying to be safe, but safe is fear. Because what are you trying to be safe from? What
Yeah.
you're afraid of.
So how do you define freedom then?
Pure freedom?
Yeah, freedom. Yeah.
Hmm. Uh, it is unconditional love is pure freedom. Like the true essence of unconditional love. When you understand what unconditional love is, then you realize it encompasses the whole. Not just the things that we deem and judge to be good, but also the things that we deem and judge to be evil and bad, right? And you mentioned earlier that I was a religious man, right? I don't ever categorize myself as a religious man because I'm way more open than religion is. Okay.
Sure.
So that being said, I've experienced unconditional love for myself personally, and for me, the person that is, serving kids food on the street and doing a lot of Samaritan things, good Samaritan things, taking care of the world, they're just as precious as the person that is causing all the pain in the world. You know, they really are. Um, Under the premise of unconditional love. It's when we start putting in conditional love is when the person that is not doing the things that are meeting social standards or whatever we think to be comfortable for us is that they become wicked and it becomes uncomfortable for everyone. And it becomes that we start trying to put because because it is uncomfortable, we start trying to put in boundaries and laws and rules around to protect ourselves. Which in doing so, we create our own cage, create our own prison, because we don't know how to have unconditional love. And so I look at, some people call it, say, God, some people say universe, the higher power, higher self, things like that. I'm just going to use God for this example, right?
Sure.
But God encompasses everyone. There's no one that has to earn their way to divinity, heaven, or whatever you want to call it. It's all been
Right.
done. You know, I don't believe that God would create man to just tell them that they're wicked and they have to earn their way back home. That doesn't make sense to me, right? All that for me is very dogmatic and traditions that have and stories that have been corrupted and passed down from generation to generation that have been adopted as a belief system. I don't believe any man is. I don't believe the natural man is an enemy of God. Why would you ever create an enemy for yourself?
Right.
Like, what's the common sense in that?
Yeah. No, that's an interesting perspective for sure. Because you think that like one side you're saying a natural man is someone who's, you know, trying to go after those vices that maybe would keep you between yourself and that pure love.
Mhm.
But the other side, your natural man could very well be my natural self is I want to be more closer to the higher power and have that sense and that feeling or that purpose. So it's an interesting perspective for sure. And yeah, I don't want enemies, and I don't think God does either, or the higher power does. But there's obviously those things in the world that cause that, and so
Yeah,
um, yeah, but
truly
that,
believe that things are caused so that we can experience the other thing, right? We live in a very
yeah,
polarized world.
oh,
And so, in order for you to experience this extreme joy, you have to also have something to compare it to understand that it's extreme joy, which is extreme misery, right? Or
yeah,
extreme. And so, we have a hard time at honoring both sides, you know, where the ones that are experiencing extreme misery and pain, they want you to come experience the extreme misery and pain with them as well. They do want to joy, but they feel like if you come down to theirs, then they'll feel like more justified in their misery and pain.
right,
Like, what is say, misery loves company, right? But the same thing on the other side, if you're experiencing this extreme joy, you want everyone else to come with you to experience that extreme joy, and so then we stay separated and create these divisions within humanity, right? When the reality of it is unconditional love encompasses the whole thing, the whole thing, which ultimately neutralizes the whole feeling of being alone, being feeling empty or bad, or all those things,
yeah,
feeling limited. That's the other thing is, and so with not understanding that, we limit ourselves and we put ourselves in cages, and we actually are the ones who put ourselves in bondage. It is not our government.
Yeah.
We created the government for safety,
Yeah.
right?
Interesting.
And it's not that the government's bad. I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying we created all of this, and then we keep it alive because it's comfortable. And even though it's causing us a lot of affliction and pain, we still allow it to continue to go.
Yeah. Would you think, in your opinion, that like, for example, like our government, my perspective would be is that it was created one way and it has morphed into something much greater than it was intended to be, and therefore, for those that say I need to follow the rules and the laws, etc., that have been put into place, that becomes much more restricting as this government has grown into something greater than it was intended to be in the first place. But that's just my perspective on that.
Yeah. So one of the things that we do as human beings is we get really comfortable really quick, and then we don't want things to change. What we don't realize is change is inevitable.
Yep.
You can't stop change. And so as we grow as a society, as we change, our intelligence evolves, laws have to change, rules have to change, right? Social standards have to change. But we get so caught up with being comfortable that we don't want them to change because we think that we're going to lose because we're in a state of lack. We're going to lose what we already have. We don't think that we're going to gain more. It's like, oh, we're going to lose. We don't think that we're going to expand. We think we have to give up. We have to compromise or sacrifice, or whatever, however people twist those two words, right?
Sure.
But the reality of it is as I've gained more understanding in my spirituality, I didn't have to give up my position in the church in order to gain more light and knowledge. I just had to be willing to expand my knowledge. And some of those old beliefs no longer serve me anymore. So I've set them to the side, but I understand why they had to be.
Interesting. Yeah. That's to me the definition of your agency and your personal, as we call, revelation that serves for you and your situation and your experiences. That I think we've had a lot of experience that way, myself included, where you always have feels like what's the best good for the most amount of people, and we're going to set those kind of guardrails. But there's always those situations where it's like, okay, this may be, again, for maybe the safety of the masses, but if I can step outside of that and gain greater light and knowledge, more inspiration, more information because of my own deeper personal relationship or studying or wanting to increase in knowledge, and then all of a sudden that understanding and increases, and maybe also your responsibility to take that information, use it for the right purposes. But yeah, interesting.
Yeah. And when that happens, what typically happens for people is once something else becomes their truth, then they want to create the other part as false. And it's the reason why is because we haven't been taught in society that what they call a dichotomy exists. It's called a divine dichotomy, where you can actually have two seemingly opposing views that are both true. That's what a divine dichotomy is. You can literally, and so let's go back into religion, right? When we're talking about, the Trinity, right? Like God is one and all, but also there's three separate entities: God the Father, the Holy Ghost, and Jesus Christ, right? But they're one.
Right.
So what we try to do is we try to make reason to that, and we start fighting and arguing what that looks like, and we try to interpret it the best that we can. But it's just two seemingly conflicting truths working at the same time.
Interesting. Yeah, because you hear the analogy of, well, they're one because they're on the same team, right? You always hear that time. You say, well, they're separate because you got God and the voice and the holy and the dove and Jesus getting baptized, and and then you hear both in all Scripture. Well, God is one and all those things. So yeah, it's definitely that. It's created so much.
Just that simple dichotomy has created so much conflict because people are trying to have reason, and they're trying to use their minds to reason with it, but where you need to find the answers within your heart. It's all the answers. We have all the answers. This whole life for me is about remembering, and over the last 5 years, I have taken taken to really exploring my inner workings versus the things on the outside of me. So I've gone inwardly big time. So most people haven't heard from me, and when they do hear from me, they're like, "Whoa, what is Lee talking about?" Because I've been inside my heart,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
have not been sitting there listening to prophets, pastors, um, or influencers and podcasters. No, I've been listening to Lee. I've
Mhm.
been going in. I take what I see on the outside, what I read as information. That's it, and then I go within myself through my meditation practices, maybe some walks, maybe some yoga, whatever, and I allow those things to materialize into what a truth that I believe, that I understand. I don't let people influence me anymore.
That sounds like the definition to me of a free man.
That's a free man.
Yeah.
And so we look crazy though when we're free.
Yeah, well, let's dive more into that. I want to talk more into that real quick, but I got a couple more questions for you, Lee.
Mhm.
Um, we'll do a little more silly, I guess, but maybe not for you. I don't know. We'll see how you think about this one is, but well, we got a lot of entertainment franchises out there, whether it's going to be with music, sports, media, etc. What entertainment franchise would you like to take over their creative direction? Like if you think maybe this one needs to change, these guys have gone off the rails, or they could do so much more. What do you? I don't know. It's maybe you got to think for a second about that one, but this,
Man, gosh, that's a hard one. But I would say right now would be social media. They are impacting the world like just intense. Their
yeah,
impact is massive, right?
yeah,
Like my kids, like almost every one of my kids have a channel, right? and they speak their truth. They do their little games. They create little movies and they post, and they're so freaking cute. They're actually really really good. And so the reason why I would want to take over that entertainment platform is because these like the new generation that's coming up knows how to use it,
yeah.
and it's in any way, appropriate or inappropriate, it does not matter, but they know how to use it and they engage with it often. And so it's for me, I feel like that's where you're going to have your biggest impact, right? For positive or negative, I do not care. It's just where I know that you're going to have your biggest impact. And so if I had the opportunity to get a hold of that platform, I would set it completely free. Okay. That's what I would do. That's actually what I'm trying to do right now. Like it's part of my mission of what I'm trying to do is use that network, which I feel is symbolic to how we actually are as a people, as God's people or creatures or entities or whatever you want to call us, as humanity. I feel like we are energetically connected, but the social media platform shows us the physical aspect of that. But now
Mhm.
we have a lot of people politically driven, you know, um, to create this cancel culture and block people from sharing freely. And so I would liberate the whole thing and I would make it
Mhm.
completely transparent, where all of your stuff is in the open that you're doing. Okay.
Yeah. I
The-
mean, that is where I'm more aligned with that way of thinking, where it's like people again are afraid of the offense of the offensive person, so therefore let's keep them off of whatever it is. Well, let that person show their true colors, and great. Now I know I don't have to follow you or watch you or listen to you because I've seen your heart based upon your posts. So great,
Mhm.
let that come. Or the other way around, like if I really enjoy what you're saying, you're doing, then let it all out. Let me be more involved in what you have to say. But this limiting because of different points of view really definitely it creates that one-sided
Yeah.
conversation almost that's detrimental. It's
And
interesting.
it pushes everything into the shadows. And when
Yeah.
things go into the shadows, they actually become corrupted. Typically, like when you put food in the dark for too long, it spoils and then it becomes something completely different. When if you just kept it with some sunlight, it'd be healthy and still good to consume.
Yeah.
Right? But also, when you have something that's infected, right? If you cover it up for too long, it'll just get worse. You have to expose it to sunlight and to air and things like that so it can have the opportunity to heal. And so my thoughts in opening it up is to allow for people to really just exercise whatever blockages they have inside of them, because everything that's corrupted is just a cry for help for me. is what I look at. You're just crying for help. You don't feel fulfilled. You don't feel like you're getting everything that you desired. But
Mm.
guess what? Out of the billions of people on this earth, someone has the remedy for you. And I'm not going to block you from being able to be connected to them anymore. I'm going to allow you to be able to get to them. However means that you, whatever means it is that you can get to them, get to them. And then guess what? Once whatever perversion is like cycled through your body, then you'll be purified again, and we'll be back in harmony. But I believe there's enough of us doing things opposite of the other to balance the whole system out.
Okay. I think we're going to touch on that a little bit more as well. Just get more of that coming. So, okay, let's go with the last question then. What do you see as being your greatest regret, and where did it leave you?
It's funny you say that because I'm writing a post on it right now. Okay. But it was my hunger and constant striving to always be right. To always be right.
Hmm.
In doing so, I created, which I didn't know I was at the time, right? But I created a bunch of liars, because in order to be the person that tells the truth, you have to create the person that tells the lie. Right?
Right.
In order to be the person right, then I got to make someone wrong. And I did that in my marriage a lot. And it came off as self-righteous, always trying to do everything perfect, which, by the way, I do believe that everyone's perfect, but not in the world definition of that, right?
Sure.
What I believe is, when I say that, is that there's just no mistakes and there's no coincidence. Things have to happen in order for us to experience and understand so we can grow. And where it looks like someone else's downfall is someone's opportunity also to stand up and step up, Without a bully, you have no hero, right? And we love heroes, right? And so, that being said, if there was anything that I would have the regret, it would be that, is I made my wife wrong throughout our whole marriage because I was so good and I was always right. I didn't make mistakes. I, crossed my T's, dotted my I's, and, always trying to be the teacher, teaching them, this is the way we do it. This is how it's supposed to be done, right? Didn't lose my cool often at all, because I wanted to be the better person, right? And then the whole time I'm making my wife feel less than. And I've done that in many relationships. And so, that, if there was a regret, that would be my regret. But the reason why I do not regret it is because I learned that, and I can now teach on it, and I can help other people as they are confused on why they're getting so much blowback. Like,
Yeah.
why do you feel like you're doing everything right, but everyone doesn't like you, or everyone keeps like dragging on you? Well, this is why. Because there's an energy that you're putting off of self-righteous, that you're better than them if you do it this way, and they continue to show up this way. That's not unconditional love. That's all conditions.
Mm. It's interesting you would say that while it was a big regret of yours, and it sounds like that's had a huge impact on where you are now,
Mhm.
it's a difficult thing. And I've had the same conversation with my internal self of, if you regret it, it's hard because all those choices led you to where you are now.
Yeah, so that's
And
why I don't regret it.
right, it's hard, right? So I mean, there's been an impact on relationships, it sounds like, with you and your wife, and I'm sure others that's caused that. But man, without that, would you know what you know now and be able to have a remedy for it, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly. And because of my purpose and what I know and that I'm here to do, it all has been made right. But it doesn't mean it doesn't come without pain. But I do love who I am in this current moment. I love the knowledge that I have in this current moment.
yeah,
And as long as I stay in that present moment and loving myself, and everything that I did before is right, everything is good, and there is no regrets, because I couldn't be without.